I am back at Scuzzle Motorsport with Project MX-5 Phil and a very, very excited looking Nick. Why are you so excited?
I'm not anymore.
We're going to get to that. we're going to get to that in a sec. But the reason that Phil is back is because obviously we put a turbo on quite recently and we need to get it on the dyno, we need to get it mapped, we need to put a boost solenoid on it. Just for a quick recap, what did we do? Well, we just turbocharged it and it took 2 days at Autosport. We've got the TD04 turbo from Turbo Dynamics. We've got the new radiator and intercooler from Fast 5. We've got kick-ass exhaust manifold and downpipe from Black Cat Fabrication. And we've also got quite a kick-ass ECU from Motorsport Electronics. You rate that quite a lot.
Yeah, it's really good.
For those of you wanting to know more about the Turbo Dynamics TD04 Turbo, it's had a few key upgrades, including a larger billet aluminium 15T compressor wheel, a motorsport spec thrust bearing kit, milled flange faces to ensure zero leakage, and upgraded wastegate bushes. With these measures in place, this TD04 Turbo is good for up to 300 horsepower. Phil, on the other hand, well, we're about to find out how much power he can handle. But before all that, Nick starts off by fitting the boost solenoid. He attaches 2 vacuum lines and runs one to the compressor housing and another to the actuator. The boost solenoid now needs to be wired into the carbon canister solenoid, after which they're crimped, heat wrapped and plugged in.
Right, well basically I'm going to map it.
Yeah.
We've got to go through the fueling, the ignition timing, basically everything. It's going to take a few hours.
Hours?
A few hours.
Hours?
A few hours.
Actually hours?
It's going to take a few hours.
As in actual hours?
Actual hours. It might be a bit quicker because base map's good. It will just get better and better as I go. You won't know anything about it because there's just numbers on the screen, which will mean absolutely cool to you.
Yeah, nice.
And then we'll start doing some runs once it's sort of mapped, and then start turning up the boost and literally you'll see me do probably like 20 runs one after the other, a little bit more boost each time until the clutch packs up. And then hopefully we have a nice magic number of somewhere around about, well, over 200.
Yeah.
Is what we want to see on the screen.
Yeah.
Because we're measuring the power at the wheels.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So if we get 200 at the wheels, we've got 240 at the fly. Well, basically we've got 2 tables here that are the most important ones for today. We've got the fuel table, so we just need to go through every single one of these cells and change the numbers until we're happy with the way the car's fueling. And then we go across the screen to this other table, which is your ignition timing, and we need to bring that up, advance that as far as physically possible until we find knock. And when we find the early stages of the knock, we back it off a bit. And then we'll start adding some boost in and see where we get to. Which means going into my little dream world in my little headphones.
So Phil looks happy, running about 6.97 PSI of boost. I've got a whole bunch of food and stuff that Nick has asked me to get him, so Nick, hobnobs. Phil is on the dyno getting mapped. This gonna be good.
It's now time to do some runs.
With that log style manifold, that's pretty common because they don't breathe very well at the top end of the log manifold. So you get the boost early and then it starts to tail off.
Yeah.
If you had a nice equal length manifold, it'd take a bit longer for the boost to come in, but then it'd stay strong at the top.
Yeah, yeah.
So this swings and roundabouts.
Right, so Nick's done some basic mapping before we go all out and turn up the boost. Phil is currently running 7 PSI of boost, and you can see the maximum power figure is 158.3 horsepower, which is about 30 horsepower more than I was getting NA. And bearing in mind, this is at the wheels as well. So at the crank, this is probably on about 190 now, don't you reckon?
It's about 20%.
Yeah?
So what's that?
It's around 190-ish. And the torque as well has increased a hell of a lot. So if you look at the 5252 figure there, we're looking at about 140 pound-foot of torque at the wheels again. Before I was getting 90. But that from 7 PSI, and you'll reckon that we're going to wind it up to 12 psi.
About 12.
What happens if Phil goes bang?
You're walking home.
Cool.
Change your spark plugs.
So what we're having to do now, or what Nick is having to do now, is he's going to change the spark plugs because we're getting a bit of a misfire. Basically, there's just too much air and it's just blowing the plug out. So we've got to get a new one in and then it will go over 200.
Before the plugs are changed, I want to find out exactly how hot the turbo is. You know, for science.
The biscuit is now 300. Yeah, alright, that's enough of that.
Well, MPD, I'm a new guy and he sounds like
Oh, that smells.
Nick changes the old spark plugs for new ones, and it's straight back to the dyno to hit that magic 200 wheel horsepower figure. But then, disaster.
I've got a funny feeling we might not be able to get a good reading now.
Really?
Yeah.
Is the clutch completely?
It's slipping at whatever boost that is. I just want to get that 200. I really,
Not at the
really,
expense of me getting home.
I really want 200.
I need to get
It'll
home.
make no difference. I'll turn the boost down.
I'm worried about my clutch. Really worried about my clutch now.
It's only a clutch. See if I can coax it back into working by thrashing it. We've still got that misfire at the top, so we're going to just try changing the HT leads over, see if we can get rid of that, and hope we get a clean run without any clutch slip. And if we can, we're laughing, but who knows?
Nick changes the HT leads to see if we can hit our target. What follows is a butt-clenching period of engine screams as me, as Phil's legal guardian, goes through 50 shades of agony, which I express through swearing, pondering, coughing, head tilting, internal rage, weird facial movements, desperation, and finally, my sex face. Nick then does one more run to give me a final figure to take home.
So that figure there is the figure that I'm going to drive away with today. And as Mr. Mark Haynes over there quite rightly pointed out, my clutch probably looks a little bit like this now. So I'm going to call it a day, put a new clutch in, and then bring it back to Stuzzle, and then we're going to hit that 200 horsepower figure. But for now, that will do me very nicely.
With the map and dyno run complete, it's time to experience Boosted Phil for the first time.
And this is genuinely the first time that I'm going to be giving Phil a bit of a hooning. So I'm quite nervous, excited. I should be fine, but we'll find out. Pretty NA at the moment. Second gear. Oh my god! Oh my god! Yes! Yes! Ethan, you love it! Yes! Yes! Right, third gear. Oh my god! I cannot explain how fast this is, how transformed this car is. And this is 185 horsepower. This hasn't been wound up yet to 200. Clutch is slipping a little bit in fourth there. Oh, the way it accelerates and it goes from 40 to 60 is unreal. Phil, you dark horse. Oh my god, this is so fast. Oh, one tyre fire all the way. My thoughts on turbocharging your MX-5. Yeah, do it. It's amazing. Completely transformed the car. It was completely gutless before, I'll admit that now, I will admit it. Oh, but my God, this is so good. If you enjoyed watching this Project MX-5 episode as much as I enjoyed being part of it because it was amazing, then make sure you download the Car Throttle Android app for way more of this awesome stuff, including Phil, turbo stuff, 2 guys 1 car reviews, and flexing? Mad flexing! Hi, we're back in the Moss Bay and we're going to do some cool stuff today. Namely, fitting a performance clutch. And if we've got time, we're going to fit an LSD throw it. Yeah, that's really heavy. And then basically I'm just going to go drifting.